Have you ever wondered why powerful CEOs sometimes make decisions that destroy the very companies they run, while still walking away with million-dollar bonuses? Or why do politicians promise the world during elections, but once in power, they seem to serve themselves instead of the people? The hidden reason behind these conflicts lies in what economists call the principal-agent problem. And understanding this concept can completely change how you look at business, politics, and even healthcare. In economics and finance, one of the most important and fascinating challenges is the principal-agent problem. It occurs whenever one person, called the principal, trusts another person, called the agent, to make decisions on their behalf. The problem begins when the agent's interests do not perfectly match the principal's goals. As John F. Kennedy once said, "Let us not seek the Republican answer or the Democratic answer, but the right answer." His words echo the exact issue we face here. When decision-makers prioritize their own interests instead of those they serve, society pays the price. Who is the principal? Who is the agent? To make it simple, the principal is the owner or stakeholder. This is the person or group that provides the resources and expects the best possible outcome. Examples include shareholders in a company, citizens in a country, a patient visiting a doctor. The agent is the one entrusted to act on behalf of the principal. Examples include CEOs and managers, government officials. The doctor is treating the patient. Here lies the issue. The agent almost always has more information and more decision-making power than the principal. Economists call this imbalance information asymmetry. Think about it. Does every shareholder know what a CEO is doing behind closed doors? Can every citizen track every move of a politician? Of course not. This gap in knowledge is where the conflict begins. Why does the conflict of interest occur? Agents, like all human beings, have personal motives. These could be higher salary, more perks, job security, or even just the desire for prestige. But these motives don't always match the principal's goals of maximizing value, efficiency, or fairness. Since the principal cannot monitor every decision, the agent may act in ways that benefit themselves, even if it harms the principal. Economists call this moral hazard. Put simply, when someone takes risks but doesn't bear the full consequences, they are more likely to act recklessly. Real-world examples. Let's look at how this plays out in everyday life. 1. Corporate world shareholders versus managers. Shareholders want long-term growth and profits. Managers, however, may chase short-term results just to earn performance bonuses. This is exactly what happened during the 2008 financial crisis. Many bankers and executives took extreme risks, knowing that if things went well, they would pocket massive bonuses. If things went wrong, it was shareholders and taxpayers who suffered losses. 2. Politics, citizens versus politicians. Citizens want honest, efficient governance. But politicians, the agents, often focus on re-election, building personal wealth, or favoring certain groups. That's why people feel frustrated when campaigns' promises rarely to match political reality. 3. Healthcare, patients versus doctors. Patients trust doctors to provide the best treatment. But if doctors are influenced by pharmaceutical companies or profit-driven hospital policies, they may prescribe expensive drugs or unnecessary procedures. The patient suffers while the agent benefits. Consequences of the principal-agent problem. The damage can be enormous. Misallocation of resources. Money and effort wasted on things that don't create value. Short-termism. Decisions that look good today but harm the future. Increased monitoring costs. Expensive audits, compliance systems, and regulators. Scandals and crises. From Enron's fraud to global recessions triggered by reckless banking. As Warren Buffett once remarked, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. The principal-agent problem is often the reason reputations and companies collapse so quickly. How to solve or reduce the problem? The good news? Economists and businesses have developed ways to minimize this conflict. 1. Incentive alignment. Tie an agent's rewards to the principal's success. For example, CEOs can be given company shares instead of just salaries. If the company thrives long-term, the CEO benefits too. 2. Monitoring and governance. Independent boards, regular audits, and strong regulations keep agents accountable. After the Enron scandal, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act in the U.S. introduced stricter rules to improve corporate governance. 3. Contracts. Clear agreements that set goals, responsibilities, and consequences can reduce ambiguity. When expectations are written down, agents are less able to exploit loopholes. 4. Transparency. Regular reporting and open communication reduce information asymmetry. the more principals know, the less power agents have to misuse. The principal agent problem isn't just theory, it shapes the world around us, in corporations, governments, hospitals, and even small businesses. When principals and agents are aligned, economies flourish. But when they drift apart, society bears the cost. The lesson? Always look for systems, incentives, and structures that keep decision-makers accountable. Because as history has shown, unchecked power almost always leads to abuse. Or, in the words of Adam Smith, the father of modern economics, the real tragedy of the poor is the poverty of their aspirations. If leaders and decision-makers ignore the aspirations of those they serve, then both sides lose. So next time you see a politician breaking promises, a CEO walking away rich after failure, or a doctor pushing an unnecessary treatment, remember you are witnessing the principal agent problem in action. And understanding it is the first step toward creating a fairer and more accountable world.